Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to another tutorial. Like I promised, I was going to make a matching skirt for desktop. I did, and in this tutorial I'm just gonna take you guys through the process of how I did and what I actually was just playing around. I'm just gonna show you guys what I ended up with. And so these are the materials that I'm using for this tutorial. So firstly, we have an elastic band, scissors, measurement tape. We have the main base of the skirt, so this is what we are going to use. I'm going to use two of these, and then we have the mohair that we are going to use for the design of the skirt. And for this tutorial, I am going to use a 3.5 crochet hook. So starting with your elastic band, this is how wide mine is, and this is too wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my waist measurement, but I'm going to make sure that I take the measurement when it's unstretched. So my waist measurement is currently 28 inches. So I'm basically going to go ahead and do a 28 inches elastic band. So it basically ends right here. But then again, when you stretch this, these should be wide enough to go above your hips. So it's going to be easy for you to just pass the skirt from your foot upwards. So you're going to make sure you take your waist measurement when it's unstretched, and then obviously it stretches all the way. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and cut. I usually just go a few more inches just because I'm going to make a knot, and I don't want the knot to take off the 28 inches, which is my exact waist measurement. So I'm just going to go off a few more inches around this area, and I'm going to cut this off. And from here, I'm just going to go ahead and make a secure knot. So you need to make sure that your elastic band is straight when you make the knot, because you don't want it to be twisted when you have your knot complete. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a secure knot to seal off the elastic. You can also sew this if you have a sewing machine. So I'm just going to sew to make a secure knot, and I usually just go back with extra knot just to make sure the elastic band is well secured. Yes, right there I have my elastic secure. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut off the excess elastic band around this area. So right here I have my elastic band. Again, you want to make sure that your elastic band is straightened before you make a knot, because you don't want your knot to be twisted. You don't want your elastic band to be twisted as well. So this is what my band looks like. Again, this stretches all the way, so it should be able to go above your hips. So now I'm going to grab my yarn. You can use whatever yarn you want to. I'm just making this as a set. I already have the top complete. So again, you're going to grab the yarn that you're going to use. So now that I have my yarn, depending on whatever yarn you're using, I am going to grab my elastic, and I always make sure that the knot itself is inwards, because then I want it to be inside the skirt and not outside. Just wait, that way it's less visible, the knot is less visible. So what I usually do is I'm going to go ahead and start working around the elastic band, because that is going to make sure the elastic band is going to be part of the skirt instead of attaching the elastic band later. You can also do that as well, but this is one of the easiest way for me to get started on the skirt. So what I usually do is I grab my yarn on my left hand, and then I'm just going to insert my crochet hook underneath the elastic just to make a knot with the yarn, so I can secure the yarn to the elastic band. So now I'm just going to grab the elastic band, and I'm just going to make a knot. And I usually go with one or two more just to make sure the yarn is secure to the elastic band, like this. Again, I'm just going to go with one more knot to make sure it's well secure. So now that I have my elastic band secure, I'm just going to go ahead and take my crochet hook, and I'm going to grab the yarn from the opposite end, and that is going to be my first chain. So I'm going to yarn over and chain, and that is going to be the first chain. So from here on, single crochet, sorry. So from here on, I'm going to go ahead and do one single crochet. No, I usually go for a double crochet. So from here on, I'm going to do one double crochet all around the elastic. So basically you're going to yarn over, so just the way you would actually do a normal double crochet, but this time around, because we don't have any chain or we don't have any stitch, you're going to go underneath the elastic band like this, and then you're going to grab the yarn. Now you have 3 loops. You're going to yarn over, pull through the first 2, and yarn over, pull through the last 2. Again, up close, you're going to go ahead and yarn over, instead of, because we don't have a chain or a double crochet or a stitch, you're going to go underneath the elastic, grab the yarn and pull through, yarn over, pull through your first 2 loop, and yarn over, pull through the last 2 loop. Again, you're going to yarn over, insert your crochet hook underneath the elastic, grab your yarn, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. So that is the double crochet. So I'm basically going to repeat 1 double crochet around this elastic band until I get to the very end. This is actually a bit complicated as well, because you don't want to make sure the elastic is stretched. You want to make sure it's not stretched when you're crocheting around it, because remember we used the waist measurements. So if you stretch this elastic as you go, you're going to have too many double crochets that you don't need, because at the end of the day we are going to increase for the hips. So you do not need the amount of double crochet if you stretch this elastic. So you want to make sure you double crochet around the elastic but not stretched, because when you stretch it, then you have a lot more room to put more double crochets, and you don't want to have that. So I'm basically going to repeat 1 double crochet around the elastic until I get to the very beginning, and then I'll see you guys at the beginning. So right here, I'm coming to the knot. I'm going to make sure I just add some extra double crochet right on top of the knot, just so I can get started with the next row. And the knots are supposed to, the extra double crochets are supposed to actually cover the knot until we get to the other part of the elastic band and of the row. So again, like you see, I did not stretch my elastic. I just make sure I did 1 double crochet just so the elastic is full. So again, if you stretch it, you can see the lines in between the spaces in between elastic. But again, like I mentioned, you want to make sure your elastic is not stretched. You're just going to go ahead and add 1 double crochet around. And again, this is different depending on the elastic. You're just basically going to take your elastic measurement, your waist measurement with your elastic, and do the same method. So to get started with the next row, I usually just go right on top of the previous row with a double crochet. I do not slip stitch into anything because it just doesn't work for me. So I'm going to go right into this first double crochet from the previous row with a double crochet right on top, and from here on I'm basically going to go into every double crochet from the previous row with 1 double crochet. So right into this next, I'm just going to go with a double crochet, and I'm going to repeat this all around like this. So right there, you see we went straight into this next row. So I'm going to repeat this all around, and then I'll come back and show you guys what the work looks like after row 2. So right here, coming to the end of row 2, we are just going to go right on top of the previous row again to get started with row 3, and that is just basically 1 double crochet right on top of this previous. So you're basically just going to go right on top of the double crochet row, and I am going to repeat this until I have a total of 8 inches, and that is basically going to be the length from where you want your actual skirt to start up until the starting point of your hips. So at this point, I think it's currently 1 inches. So I'm going to repeat this until I have a total of 8 inches, because afterwards we are going to start increasing. So you're basically going to go right on top of each row to get started with the next row until you have a total of 8 inches. So I'll see you guys when I have a total of 8 inches complete. Hey guys, so right here I am back with my 8 inches. I did a total of 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 rows for me to get to 8 inches. Let me just take the measurement so you can see that I do have 8 inches right there. This is what the length is. So I think we are going to skip increasing because this is currently 20, let's see. This is currently 21.5 inches. Like, it's wide enough to go around my hips. So if I do increase now, I am going to make this a bit too loose for my hips area. Again, the waist was snatched, so I guess that's the reason why when we are working, because I did not do any increasing. I only did 1 row of double crochet up until this point. So I think I am going to skip the increase part, and I'm just going to continue to do rows of double crochet up until I have 15 inches. And the 15 inches is basically going to be from my waist to under my butt area. So right from there, I'm going to start decreasing. So we are going to decrease instead of increasing. So we are not increasing at all. So what I would suggest you do is take the measurement of your skirt at this point. If it's not up to your hips measurement, so this one is 21, almost 21 inches. So when you multiply by that by 2, it will give you a total of 42 inches, which is my hips area. And obviously this stretches as well, so when it stretches it goes all the way. So if it's not up to your hips measurement, then I'll suggest you increase. Just mark both sides and then you increase for few rows. If it's up to your measurement, your hips measurement, then like just skip the increasing like I am about to do. So I'm just going to continue this rows for 15 until I have a total of 15 inches. I currently have 8. So I'm going to do this for a few more rows, and then I'll come back and show you guys how we are going to go about decreasing, because we are going to decrease so the actual skirt, so it gives the pencil skirt kind of effect on this pattern. So what I did was I made sure I actually worked my last row to one edge of the panel. So instead of stopping at the middle at the center, I just worked my way to the one edge, because this is where I'm going to attach the other yarn. Mind you, if you have enough yarn, then you really don't have to go through this process like I am going through. But again, I don't have enough yarn and I don't have options. I'm just going to do this because this is the only option that I actually have at this point. So you're just going to work, in case you want to do the same thing that I'm doing again, this is also in case if you want to do the same thing. I'm just going to work my way to the last, to one edge of this panel, and I'm going to cut off this yarn and attach. So for me, I'm just going to attach the mohair to this edge. I think it's gonna come out well because, mind you, I also did mix this with the mohair for the top. If you've seen the top, you can see that the upper part was actually mixed, so I think it's gonna turn out fine. But again, that's not what I had in mind, so I guess that's the reason why I'm overthinking everything a little bit. So I'm just basically going to continue with one row of double crochet all around. The reason why I'm not going to decrease now is because I want to do few rows more, like 15 inches like I mentioned, before I start decreasing for the rest of the length that I'm going for. So now I have my length. I am going to go ahead and mark the sides of the panel, because this is where I'm going to start decreasing on the sides, just so I can have the pencil skirt kind of effect on the skirt. So you're going to mark both sides with a stitch marker, so like this end and then the opposite end as well. And from here on, I'm just going to continue with double crochet, but the only difference is I'm going to decrease on this side and the opposite side as well. So right here, I'm just going to start decreasing again from this end. Remember, when I started with the mohair, I ended on this side. You can see like this row, this is where I started with it, so I'm going to start decreasing on this side as well. So for me, I'm just going to go into this next space with double crochet, and I'm going to decrease into the next space as well. So I'm basically going to do 2 decrease on this side and then do 2 on the opposite side. So now I'm just going to go ahead and do 1 double crochet until I get to the opposite side where I'm going to do another decrease. So right here, coming to the opposite end, I'm just going to go ahead and do the decrease again. Remember, I did 2 decrease on that side, so I'm going to do 2 as well on this opposite side, and then I'm just going to go around and do another row of decrease, and then I'm going to do 1 row of no decrease and then another set of decreasing as well. I think I'm just going to do this for a total of 2 sets of decreasing, and then afterwards I'm just going to continue with rows of double crochet until I have my desired length. So you can go ahead and do the same thing, and I'll see you guys at that point. So you're basically going to go around, and when you get to the opposite side of the stitch marker, you're going to do another decrease. You're going to come all the way, do another decrease, and then you're going to do 1 row of no decreasing, just a basic double crochet. Afterwards, you're going to continue these 2 sets of decreasing again, and then that's what I'm going to do. And from there on, I'll just decide how many rows I want to do to get my desired length for the skirt. So guys, this is what I have going on. So I did few more rows of the double crochet with the mohair, like I said I was going to, and later on I did single crochets around the edge just to end off the skirt, because I'm not going to do any more rows. And I did try the skirt on, and it's the perfect length that I'm going for. So now we are going to work around the side for the wrap up pattern of the skirt. So this is originally what I wanted to do, except I didn't want the mohair to be underneath, but already you guys know what the situation is. I ran out of yarn, so this actually did end up coming here. So because the top, this is a matching skirt to that top, and the top has a mesh pattern on the sleeve and then the upper part, I have decided to do the wrap up pattern with thing with a mesh pattern instead of a simple double crochet. So this mesh pattern is supposed to just to tie around, just to add a little bit of design and extra to the skirt, just so it's not basic, because the top itself is not. So I don't want the skirt to be basic. So for this, there are actually 2 ways you can go about this. You can either make the mesh pattern separately and then you attach it to this, which is also a little bit complicated. So I've decided to just work the mesh pattern right onto the skirt instead of doing it separately and attaching it afterwards. So what I usually do for this particular design is I am going to grab my yarn and just be where I want the tie up to start. I think I'm going to start at the 3rd row. So right here we have 1, 2, 3. I'm going to start at the 3rd row, and you have to make sure your skirt lays flat. So you want to make sure that the knot is at the back, and then the decreasing are at the side and it's lay flat, because you're going to make sure you do that on the side and not any other side of the skirt. I hope you guys understand what I mean. So right here from the 3rd row, I'm going to attach my yarn right there. So I'm just going to see again, the skirt is double. I am going to count 1, 1, 2, 3, and right into this 4th, I'm going to go into this stitch and I'm going to attach the yarn right there. And I'm just going to go ahead and make a secure knot just to make sure everything is secure. And I usually just go with few more knots again just to make sure it's secure. So from here on, we are going to go ahead and work our way downwards, but we need to be careful, because again, we do not have like a row. We have double crochets, but then in a vertical order. So you want to make sure you're actually double crocheting along the vertical area. So there is really no easy way for me to explain this, but I'm going to show you guys. I think that's the easiest way. So what I'm going to do in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and chain one. I'm going to go right into the space with a double crochet. From here on, I'm going to go ahead and chain three. And into this next, again, you can see that we have rows of double crochet, but then we did work in a horizontal manner. And now we are going the vertical way. So you want to make sure you check the rows after row, because you're going to go ahead and double crochet in each row downwards. So right there, I did my first double crochet. I'm going to go into this next after chaining three with another double crochet, chain three again, and into this next row, I'm going to go with another double crochet right into this double crochet space right there, chain three, and into this next I'm going to go with a double crochet right there, chain three, and into this next I'm going to go with a double crochet. You also want to make sure you're going into the same double crochet all the way down, because you don't want this to get bent. So you want to make sure you're keeping a straight line while you're going downwards. So I'm going to chain three again, and into this next I'm going to go with a double crochet, chain three, into this next with a double crochet, chain three, into this next with a double crochet, chain three, into this next with a double crochet, chain three, into this next with a double crochet, chain three, into this next with a double crochet. And then right here you can see what we are doing so far. This is how it looks. So I'm going to repeat just until I get to the third. I'm going to count 3 double crochets from this row. So basically from this side I'm going to count 3 double crochets upwards, 3 rows, sorry, I'm going to count 3 rows upwards, which is 1 2 3, and I'm going to stop right here. So remember, we did count 3 rows downwards, so we are going to do the same thing and stop at this row before we get to the last 3 rows. So right here I am at the last step, because again I said I was going to skip 3 double crochets downwards. We are not going to count this as a double crochet row because it's not complete. So I'm just going to count 1 2 3 of these as a double crochet row. So right there we have this going on, and this is how it looks from the opposite side, and this is how it looks from the front. So again, it's going to overlap like this when we are complete. So from here on, I'm just going to go ahead and turn, because we are going to go back to the opposite end. And for that, we are going to go ahead and chain 3, and into this chain 3 space we are going to go with a double crochet, chain 3, right into this chain 3 space with a double crochet, chain 3, into a chain 3 space with a double crochet, chain 3, into chain 3 space with a double crochet. And this is how it looks, and I'm going to repeat this until I get to the very top of this mesh pattern. So coming to the very edge, I am going to go ahead and chain 3, and I'm going to insert right into this last chain 3 space, and right there we have row 2 complete. So for row 3 I'm going to chain 1, and into this chain 3 space I'm going to go with a double crochet, chain 3, into this chain 3 space with a double crochet, chain 3, and into this chain 3 space with a double crochet. And again, I'm just going to repeat this same method until I get to the end, and when I get to the end I'm going to turn, chain 1, and continue the same thing until this panel is long enough. I'm honestly not sure how long I want it to be for now, so I'm going to go ahead and keep going with the pattern, and then I'll come back in a bit and show you guys what I have going on. Guys, so right here I have one side complete. I think I did, let me see how long this is at this point. I am actually at this point so confused on what I want to do with this mesh thing. Currently it's, let's see, 21 inches, but again it's a mesh pattern, so it stretches all the way to 27. Again, this is optional, you really don't have to do this. The only reason why I'm doing this is because I wanted to make a matching set, and I feel like the skirt will not complete if it doesn't have a mesh pattern going on, because the top does have a mesh. So I feel like the mesh just makes it a perfect set. But again, I'm confused on what I actually want to do. But I'm going to go ahead and just make sure this is flat. Again, depending on your size or the breadth of your skirt, you're just basically going to make this mesh pattern until it's long enough. I did kind of decrease on this side unintentionally because I wasn't paying attention. So don't be like me, pay attention and make sure you don't skip a stitch so you don't end up like me, basically. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to again make sure I count from 1 2 3. So from this side I am going to attach up until I get to 1 2 3, until I get to this end, just so it balances off on the opposite side of the panel. We are going to attach this side of the panel to the opposite side like I mentioned. So what we are going to do in this case is we are going to turn this again. Remember where the elastic band is, the nose, which is this case for me is going to be the back, the center of the back of the skirt basically. So if I'm going to attach this to the opposite side, I'm going to go ahead and turn this around so I can actually, the stitches will be on the opposite side and not at the front, if it makes sense, because we are going to make sure we turn this. So when we turn this around and attach it to the back side, so the mesh is going to be at the back side. I hope you guys understand what I mean. See, this is where the elastic is. I'm going to make sure I turn the mesh to the back, so when I finish single crocheting this together to this side, the seam is going to be backwards because this is going to be turned to the front and then it's going to be seamless. I hope you guys understand what I mean by that. So from here I'm just going to attach my yarn and I'm going to count 1 2 3 because remember that's what we did for the opposite side. And from this fourth double crochet I'm going to start single crocheting this together with the mesh. So right there I still have my yarn. I'm going to go into this stage, pull through, and I'm going to just single crochet, chain 3 because that's what we did, and I'm going to go to the next row because remember we were going into each row until we get to the end. Into the next row I'm going to go into the space right here roughly because there's really no way you can actually determine, and I'm just going to single crochet right there, chain 3. The reason why I'm chaining 3 is just because this mesh has chain 3 pattern. So I'm going to go into the chain 3 space right there, and I'm going to go into the next row as well on the skirt, and I'm going to single crochet that together as well. So again, the reason why I did it at the back is because I don't want the single crochet and chain 3 to be on the good side. I want it to be at the back side. So right there I'm going to chain 3 again, and I'm going to go into this double crochet space, and I'm going to go into the next double crochet on this skirt, and I'm going to single crochet both of those together. Guys, this is really the easiest way I can actually think of explaining this to you all. I really hope it's something you can understand. So for me, I'm going to chain 3 again, and this time around I'm going to go into the chain 3 space we made, and I'm going to go into the next double crochet row, and I'm going to single crochet those two together right there. Again, chain 3, and I'm going to go into this double crochet space. So remember I went into the chain 3 space. Now we are going to the double crochet space, insert my crochet hook, go to the next double crochet row on the skirt, and I'm going to single crochet those two together. And this is how it's coming out. You can see that we are attaching this mesh to the other side of the skirt. So again, chain 3 into the chain 3 space, and I'm going to attach that to the next row on the skirt. Single crochet, chain 3 into the double crochet, and I'm going to attach that to the next double crochet row right there. And that is what I'm going to do until the very end. So remember, we did skip 3 of these on the bottom. That is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to stop right here with my attachment, and then I'll come back and show you guys what the final skirt looks like, because at that point we have this bad boy complete. So right here I have 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to go again and just go into this last mesh right there with my crochet hook, and I'm going to go into this last space that I have on this one. Again, this is really something you can just play around with depending on how you want this mesh to fall. If you want it to fall a bit loose like this on the skirt, you can also just do more rows instead of what I did. But I don't want mine to fall loose, so that's the reason why I did not. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off, and I'm just going to sew this loose end right here because I have this complete. So this is what I mean, like right here you can see that I have this single crochet stitches around, but it's fine because when I turn this to the good side now, which is going to be the front, then you no longer see the seam on that area. So that is what I mean by you need to turn the mesh to the opposite side so you can actually single crochet it together. And that is basically it for this tutorial, guys. I think I'm just going to randomly add some strings to this mesh area just to add a little bit of spiciness to it, and just to add a little bit of just extra things to it. But that is basically it for this tutorial, and you can just go ahead and sew in all your loose ends, try on your skirt and see how it looks. And I love to see pictures of the items you guys made. So if you make one, tag me on Instagram on me and crochet, because I love to see those. And I guess I'll see you guys in another video.